Hi, Jeana Locke here with I'm a Transformational Life Coach. And tonight is the Sacred Soul Container. We are on February the 9th, 2019, or 2021, not 19. Where am I coming from? And we are looking at responding versus reacting. And it's basically looking at what is your authentic response versus an emotional reaction on when things occur in your life, change occurs or anything else occurs. We're going to see if we can stop and look at the things that are barriers to this and overcome them. So I just wanted to share a little bit about you. For those of you who are new to this or may not be familiar with me, I am a life coach who helps you move forward in life to look at what is that next big leap that's got you stuck. What is here that you can get to this point, but you can't get to the next point. So that's my objective, is to help you go from being in a struggle position, or I would call it stuck, to thriving. I'm a PhD in applied behavioral studies and education. I have many, many modalities in Eastern medicine, and I combine and how all these dots connect and use both of them together to help you move forward in life. So that's the purpose of what I do, and where I'm coming from is to move you from stuck to thriving, and to help you do that using a multitude of modalities. So tonight, some of these that's a little bit longer on what this may be helpful for you for. So some of these may resonate for a few of you and not for others. But these releases tonight and activations may be very helpful if you find that you reject others before they can reject you, that you put up a no way, stop. You don't get to reject me. I'm going to do it first. It may be helpful for you if you're not open to the needs of others and you react when they are not in agreement with what you say or do. Like you just respond and you're automatically out of it. Nope, I'm not going to go there. That you feel, number three, you feel another option is you feel it's more important to be right than to observe and understand. It's much more important to be right, to be correct, to always be there and to always get your way than it is to have an understanding of compassion and empathy. With him, just so you know, that's where wars are started from, was people who have to be right. They don't have an option of listening and understanding and where can we connect and where is that at, or even have a rational reason of where someone may come from. So if I want us to put that into a perspective that boundaries are important. And that doesn't mean that you have to let somebody run all over you. And it doesn't mean you have to run all over them. It only means that you should stop and look at when is there a time to stand your ground for a boundary, and when is there a time to listen and have compassion or observe. Now, we need to be able to observe and have our compassion and still have our boundaries. And how do we find that really narrow ground in the middle that shows the most? But not that we're having to push others to be exactly what we are, and not that we're letting them push us, but that we can find that ground of where we can hold who we are and do it and observe them without putting them down or judging them. So number 4 on here is, this is a good one for tonight for you. If you are triggered, when triggered, that you release out by lashing out. You do it by blaming others, you reject them, you do name calling, and you hate it when it happens to you and you experience it. You may be able to observe who in your life is already doing this kind of energy, because you see it in the cyberbullying. They start name calling when you don't respond the way they wanted to. They aren't open to your perspective. They aren't open to a different way of thinking. They're not open to anything. There is their way or no way. And that's where it comes from. So as I say that, the cyberbullying is a perfect example of this type of energy that we really want to let go of. And you can see it in others. So when that happens. Number 5 on here is, do you judge others or you react with drama or shaming? Like when others do something, you have to shame them or you have to do drama. This is in families. So often you'll see in a family that someone's going to shame the others if they don't do all of this stuff. It's like she didn't go take care of her mother, or he wasn't there to take care of his father, or somebody didn't go do this, or somebody didn't go that. There's a lot of shaming, and somebody has to be the victim of having that happen. Number 6 on here is the opposite of a negative reaction one. It is do you put a priority on everything being so smooth and so simple that you let everybody run all over you, that your feelings aren't important, what you value is not important, and what you do, you have zero boundaries. There is it's all here on this end of the continuum down here. It's all down there. all of it is what they want, whatever the people in the family or the people in the group or the people wherever it may be, it's all about them. And you have zero validity as a person and you feel non-valued. You don't feel valuable, you feel worthless, and you feel overwhelmed. So it's those people who go to that extra mile that have to keep total harmony, but they don't keep any harmony because all it does is keep people in discord and people know they aren't ever to speak up or say anything. I spent years doing this in my family situation, is that I would not do anything to create a disruption in my family. Because when my nieces and nephews were young, I would have never said a word or done any action that would have created it where my sister would not allow me to have those children if something happened to my sister and husband. I spent probably 20 years of my life responding in this way, whatever it took to keep the harmony I did. And it was extraordinarily disruptive to my soul, disruptive to my spirit. And I don't think it was helpful for my nieces and nephews to see it. I don't think it helped them grow up to see what authentic was. And they see it now. And it's very interesting to see that different relationship as occurs. So the last one is it difficult for you, excuse me, not even the last one, but are you difficult to adjusting to the changing tides? This is something to watch with people to see, can they adjust to as our tides change in our life? As things change and the circumstances change, can they adjust? And can they observe with the new adjustments and say, I'm observing it, here's what it is, here's what's going on, now how do I do it? So as you think of it, can you think of a new way to do it? Can you be open to doing it differently? Can you consider a different way to do it? And what are you willing to do? Number 8 is when things do not go the way you want to, do you become the victim? In the book, The Celestine Prophecy, it is called the poor me. Poor, poor, poor me, poor me, poor me. Oh my gosh, I've done poor me's in my life. I watched my mother live a poor me life. I have explored how this has gone through, and it's been one of my greatest things to observe and learn about, is that I no longer want to be a victim. I don't want to be a martyr, and I don't want that to occur. The poor me part is really, I'm over it. But it is something I watched, and I could see repeating patterns of poor me coming through my lifetime, and even the training that I received from family members to be the poor me. I was trained to be the poor me. I was trained to not try to do things. I was trained, I had a physical disability in my life, and I was trained that you can't. No, you can't ever do that. No, you shouldn't do that. No one even let me try. If people had known when I started doing things outside of groups, when I went to Sedona and I went and climbed a very high peak that was a very tough climb with 2 friends. When they learned that I had been paralyzed, I had no feeling in my left leg, my right eye was disconnected, they about died. They were like, what? And the whole deal was they just said no if they had known it, but I did it. I got up there faster than they did, and I got down faster than they did. I had an easier time with the climb. I was aware of what I needed to be careful of, and I handled it. But you know what happens? If I had done the other, I would have been the poor person. We couldn't do that. They couldn't even go do the climb because Jeana couldn't go do it. So sometimes they get that stopped thing. So and the next one is, am I impatient or intolerant of others when they do things differently? Do I get intolerant when somebody has a different thing? For healers, is it different modality? And for people who are in business, if they do it differently, if there's a different product, whatever there may be, or a different way of doing it, whatever it means, can we actually allow others to be who they are and be present in their vibe in that moment and just observe them without judging them, putting them down, but and yet still have compassion for them? And try to give love, send them love to uplift them. That's what they want to do. So when we overcome those, we move from a lower vibe and we move into a higher vibration. And when we move to that higher vibration, the low one is reaction and judging and that type of stuff. When we get to the next one, we're having that rebirth of looking at our world differently and stopping and recognizing each group has their own uniqueness. So as we look at this, the purpose of our soul container tonight, as always, is to move out of survival into thriving, to evolve, provide a transformational experience for you so that you can help those around you energetically, as well as help yourself and your environment. So everyone who's in our group tonight has been placed in sacred soul container. And to be pretty honest with you, I started about 1 o'clock today. So you probably have already felt those experiences. Those of you who purchased this later, you may feel that when you purchase the product. That may come up that you may all of a sudden start feeling a difference of what may have occurred. I started putting people in sacred containers, clearing energy, and working around what we could do to see what was there. So everyone is here live. Everyone who receives the replay, everyone who purchases it or is gifted this one will be able to feel these experiences even if they do not watch it. That is the intention that's set, and they are in a sacred container, and all of those are in an other that we do not know the names of. So if you're driving, please don't use this right now. Please stop and listen when it is a time when you can not be having to give your attention to any of this particularly, but you can give your attention to driving or cooking or children or whatever it is you need to do. So each person is in their own sacred soul container that is there, and it's being held in a spot. And then there's a sacred bubble around all of us to hold us together. Some of you may want to re-listen. And then I say that every week. But this week it's going to be big because this week there's a whole bunch of stuff on your heart and my heart, and it's going to show up. So you may want to re-listen to this part of it. So we'll mark of how many minutes in it is, and I'll try to post that into the replay so you can see how many minutes in to start where the clearing starts. So my prayer for tonight. Thank you. I believe the light of our Creator surrounds us. I believe the love of our Creator holds us. I believe the power of our Creator protects us. Thank you. The Spirit of our Creator watches over us wherever we are. The grace of our Creator protects us against interferences. And the intention of our Creator restores and rejuvenates us to be sovereign with the Creator, to be one. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just going to do a quick energy cleanse one more time. Just as they come up, I'm going to connect with the Creator, and I'm going to have my glitter start falling, and it's just glitter going everywhere. Get yourself one of those snowballs that is a glitter ball that has glitter in it, and shake it up and watch it fall. And that's what I imagine. As you shake that up and it starts falling, that glitter is magnetic and it attaches, and all of the negative energy around us that can be attached to it is going to attach to those little pieces of glitter. We're going to have it come down through all of the chakras between us and God. And I just use a counting system that works well for me. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm in the physical chakras. 7, 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've just gone to the chakras below us, between us and the center of the earth. I just call them the earth chakras. You can call them whatever. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to drop all of that non-beneficial energy we just did. It's all not all those little bitty glitter pieces, and I'm going to drop them off into the center of the earth and let them go into the center. And I have it. I see a big compost pile. Some of you see a crystalline energy. So everyone has their own way of doing it. Wherever it is, I drop it off, and that energy is going to be transmuted and changed over to beneficial energy, because that's what the Creator, the source of all that is, can do. Yes. Now we're going to come back up and we're going to activate everything you can receive from this session tonight. You will receive, and if you feel motivated or needing it, you can go back to it and replay it as many times as possible. You'll have the replay button. 1. I'm going back up to those earth chakras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Physical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I mean, I could, there's the chakras above us. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. And then back to God, the creator of all that is, source of the universe. And I'm just going to ask if we need to repeat that cleansing. And I say, I understand no. What I'm going to ask for is a loop to continuously go around us as we're having this energetic cleanse tonight. It's going all the way around and continuing to clear off and activate, clear and activate, clear and activate as we do this process. When we finish tonight and after it's over, I'll cleanse one more time and then I'll deactivate that loop. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I've cleansed today about 5 times for everybody in this group. And each time the heart is hit really hard. So there must be a lot of heart energy out there that's occurring right now. This probably has to do with what we're trying to clear, is that there's a lot of judgment and stuff that's on here and it feels heavy and it hurts. And it's really a physical pain. So what we're going to do next is we're going to clear those off. So we are going to say what we're going to neutralize and transmute what's keeping you in the same destructive patterns. What is stopping you from living a life that's showcasing your higher self, your soul's wisdom? What is stopping you from authentic responses versus emotional reactions? Instead of reacting with a knee jerk, well, how can I respond in a more effective way? So since we're going to neutralize all that, the first one came up were toxic relationships. Toxic relationships are really difficult for us to deal with. And we have those knee-jerk reactions, and it's a knee-jerk reaction. And we just feel it as it comes up. So the first one, and what's holding that toxic relationships, those toxic relationships in place are in quite a few energies. The first one is an allergy intolerance. So when I went to body code and it came up to allergy intolerance tonight. So first thing I did, I found myself scratching my hand. So if any of you are itching right now or scratching, and right now the top of my head is just so bad I can hardly stand it. It's just like crazy. My eyes itch. I just want to rub. So if I'm catching myself doing that, just be aware. This one was really big for me because that's what happens when I get to this one and there's something there. Then I started sneezing and it was like allergy intolerance. Whatever it was. Every time I'd hit one that was mine, that's what would come up. So if you find yourself itching, scratching, if you find yourself having some kind of allergy reaction, this is that topic one is probably for you. And see, I'm starting to scratch my face already. It's crazy. So in there's something, and here's the thing. It's either an allergy to an idea or a thought or an emotion or a concept or event or action or person. And just thinking of it gives you an allergic reaction. So this whole toxic relationship, whether it's with a thought, an idea, emotion, a concept, event, or an action or a person, is making you have some kind of a reaction to it. And it's intolerant in your body. And it's like a knot in your body that's being held in there. And every time you get there, you have this automatic response like Jeana itching. You can't control it. It's that knee-jerk reaction. So what we want to do is stop and let it go. So I want you to think of all of those things as these different ones come up that may actually give you a headache. You get a headache when you get around it. You get to itching, you get to sneezing, you get sort of a hives type deal. You get like really uncomfortable. You get where something feels bad. Whatever kind a possible allergic reaction you might feel, that could be it. Recognizing that it could come from television. It could come from Instagram. It could come from Facebook. It could come from a person. It could come from just talking about an event. It could talk about that. You could talk about the memory of something. It could be the grief of something that happened. It doesn't matter what it is, but this toxic relationship is what you have with something. So the next part of this is we want you to observe what it is. And that's why you may want to re-listen to this, because you may be able to come back in and take numerous layers of this off, because it was pretty strong. And I can't even describe to you how much I'm itching right now. I'm trying so hard not to scratch my face. So what's holding this in place? The first one is what's holding this intolerance in place of the toxic relationship is judgments. The judgment is they are wrong and I am right. Or they are judging me that I'm wrong because they are always right. And I am allergic to that response. I'm allergic to them doing that. I'm allergic to this being, this soul, this group telling me that I'm wrong. Who are they to tell me that I am wrong? Who gave them the right to be like that? Who on earth did that? So that is a judgment thing. And we have a reaction, and that judgment is holding this allergy intolerance in place. So if you're having any kind of reaction at all on those, but it may be, and if you feel it, that there's some of a judgment that either you feel from others or you give to others. And I can say I did both of this one. I could tell where I gave this to others. I was very judgmental today on the phone with a friend of one of her family members. And I heard this when I got to this later. I was like, oh my gosh, I was so judgmental of this person. And who did I have the right to be judgmental? Shouldn't I just allow that person to be in their vibe and go on? But no, I was very judgmental. I did exactly what this was. That's probably why I itched so bad when I got to it. And it's probably why it came up first. I had just gotten off the phone, and literally when I started, the itching started. So I want to release judgments, and maybe instead of judging, we stop and we look at observing. Thank you. The next one is resentment. We are resentful. There's displeasure. We have animosity and ill will. We keep them, we are removed from compassion or understanding. We have no understanding or compassion. We don't even try to have understanding or compassion. We don't want to have understanding or compassion. All we do is have ill will. We are resentful of those people for whatever that may be. That could be a family member who always has to be right, and you are so tired of it. You're just resentful of it. Or you have the family member who always has to have their family function at their house, on their terms, at their time, with whatever they say to be served. If anyone's ever had that, and this is the only thing you can do, you understand how that can feel, and it becomes resentful on it. So we want to release resentfulness. Judgment was first, and then resentfulness. The next one is pride. We're going to release pride. Pride is that they have to be right and they want us to be wrong, that they have to have, their needs are higher level than ours. We are much lower level than theirs, and they are infringing that upon us. We either absorb their pride or we are taking it on and accepting it to be true. And then we want to release that whole concept of them having pride over us or us having pride over others. You know, I think this is pretty true. My guides just said this was really true about males and females, that there are many males out there there is nothing about, they would never think of thinking they were better than a female. And then there are many males out there who would automatically think that a female must do what a male says. And this comes up a great deal on pride, is that their pride is up here, and that they could not ever let their pride be less than that. When I remarried, and I was very upfront when I dated, I said, my name is my name is my name. If you would like, if we ever got into a relationship that went long-term and you wanted us to have the same name, I'm more than happy for you to change your name to be my name. But if not, I'm okay. I'll be fine with it. And it was a very big of a deal. So some guys never dated me again after that, because their pride was, oh my God, she would have a different name than me, and she would dare that I would take her name. And it was really offensive for them. I found it quite humorous personally. And I found it to be a really good way to catch the red flags on someone who is very judgmental. But that's what pride is that, oh, why would we change our name to match what she has? She would change her name to match mine. And it was a huge issue with males. And I found very quickly that I brought the topic up fast and quick, probably by a second date, because I wanted them gone if that was their attitude. And I was upfront. If this isn't comfortable for you, please don't worry. I'm okay that we never see each other again and talk. I'm good with that. And it was a very interesting thing. But if you can release your personal pride, and if you can release any pride that you might have or that you feel from others that you have absorbed, please release it. Yes. The next one's blaming. And blaming is it feels like it's being sharp arrows going at you, or just being like hit and hit and hit. Blaming is holding others of not being or thinking like you do. They aren't being like me. They don't think like I think. Look how they dress. Look what their hair looks like. You know, I think that as I have aged, sometimes I find it really interesting on some of the hair colors that come out. It was, it's like, for me, I'm really, I, I I have nothing against hair colors that are different, but they took me a while to get used to it. It would be like, I loved their natural color. I thought it was beautiful, or I even thought that whatever they had, it was just gorgeous. And then they'll come in. I had a group of ambassadors, and all of them each decided to get different hair color one week. And they came in, one was teal and one was purple, and one was some kind of a red that I wasn't quite sure of. One was literally an orange. One had gone from black to blonde. And each of these had gone in and done literally to demonstrate to me they were still who they were. It was a great thing for me to experience. I didn't have to do it, but I had to accept that here's where they were, and like just let them do their job and do it well. Do you know that was one of the best recruiting weeks we ever had with students ever? Because they were so authentically who they were, and they felt so good about themselves. So release blaming others, making them have to be like you, or making them responsible for what's happened to you. We're going to release the concept of being a victim, the poor me. Poor me. Poor me. Oh my gosh. Look what happened to me. Look how bad they were to me. Look at all that terrible stuff. The poor me. So as you look at that, we're going to release being a victim, because being a victim doesn't get you anywhere but keep you in victimhood and dig you deeper. The next one is being a martyr, and that's a part of the victimhood. And it's a part of it because as you do it, you get stuck. And martyrdom is literally more stuck in it. And you want to not just be a victim, you want to display that you're a victim. You want the world to know you weren't a victim. You want a coat on instead of saying Superwoman. You want that cape to say, I was a victim of whoever and whatever that it may have been. And that's what that is. So we want to get rid of martyrdom, because martyrdom is when you try to make the world know that poor me. The next one is taken for granted. So we're still trying to get intolerance off. We're still trying with everything we can to get off the concept that this toxic relationships have an allergy intolerance. So we're still working on allergy intolerance, and we're now at taken for granted. And taken for granted was one of my biggest itching experiences, and my hands were like, oh my gosh. It was, you feel like you're treated carelessly. You feel like people that you've respected, you've loved, and you've treated well. This could be in work. This could be in your home life. This could be in a group that you're in. This could be in society in general. It is that you feel careless regard for who you are, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions. I see this so much when you see a parent group who has some very definite beliefs, and then you see a child who has a very different set of belief standards. And you look at them, and the belief standards actually aren't that different, but they're displayed differently and they're spoken differently. So this child may have great empathy for others and caring for others, but it's displayed and not in the church way of the family. And therefore, it is wrong to speak of the universe or creator versus our God and our Bible. And there's like all of a sudden, everything this child believes, this person believes, becomes very, very bad. And it's because that whole concept of it is that you cannot be looked at, that they take them for granted that they're doing that. So we want to let that go and remove it. The next one is angry. You are angry. Oh my gosh. All of you who've known me, have worked with me, have seen me have it happen. You've seen it when I have gone through doing releases on myself, and I can feel the anger coming up and the resentfulness of it. The anger about that I have been done wrong. He did me wrong. I was threatened. And then the times when I've done others wrong. We've all done the anger. So when you've been done wrong and when you have felt threatened, and you can have anger towards it. If you feel angry towards someone, it's the same thing. You're not being able to stay and observe them. You're in a mode of getting a judgment. So we're going to release this because we've got to get rid of this allergy intolerance. The next one is bitterness. And bitterness goes right with anger. There's just bitter. How long has it been since it happened? How long ago was it? Are you still mad? Are you still angry? Are you still pissed? How long ago was it? What are you going to do? What difference does it make? How come it's such a big deal to you now? And that whole deal on bitterness is that if there's someone else that is bitter, and you find that you're very bitter towards someone else, doing your best to be able to forgive them, is a really big thing, to find a way to say, can I let go of that? Now, if they're bitter towards you, ask every day if the creator of all that is, can you just say, creator of all that is, please let them forgive me for whatever it is I did. It was at a time when I did the best I could. If I could change it now, if I thought it would make a difference, I might have done that. But if I wouldn't change it, could they forgive me? Can they see that from my perspective? And just say, please allow that. And then go forward and ask every day until you feel like you've done all you can do. And when you're going through that, if every time you think of it and you see them right in front of you and you can visually see them, if they ever stay right there and they keep staying, they probably haven't forgiven you and your emotions. If they walk away, they probably have. If all of a sudden you no longer can see them, that may have been. That's a way to look at the bitterness and giving forgiveness. Another one is humility and being humiliated, and there's a complete loss of dignity. And we've all had it. We've been humiliated by someone. We've been humiliated at family functions or an attempt at humiliation. We have been humiliated by our spouses if we've been married. We have been humiliated by our families. We have been humiliated at work. We have been humiliated in schools. And all of us can think of a time that we have been humiliation. There was something that happened that we were so embarrassed and so mortified that happened to us. We want to release that because that keeps us in judgment. And we cannot let go of this allergy and tolerance until we get rid of the humiliation. The jealousy is the next one. And we are jealous of them or they are jealous of us. If we're jealous of them, we're jealous of whatever it is that they have that we feel is an advantageous thing over us. And we're jealous of it. And we're judgmental. If they are jealous of us and try to make us feel uncomfortable, or if we absorb that jealousy, we want to release that. Because that jealousy is making judgment be even stronger. Jealousy is judgment that looks green in my eyes. It's just a green thing that goes around. Jealousy is all about not feeling loved. Jealousy is about feeling not respected, but you really feel no value. That when someone is jealous, when you feel like that has happened, there's a lot of a lack of love and trust in there. So a fear that no one's going to love me. So the last one there's a lot about that on the concept of where parents did a lot with children and one child was so much better than the others. Or let's say there was a couple of girls and a boy, and the boy was perfect. He was their child. He was everything. And the girls couldn't do anything right. Or there were several girls and one girl was perfect and she was the beautiful child and the smart child and she was the whatever child, and the other child's children, or one of them, was always too fat or too ugly or too thin or too something else. They were constantly reminded of how lesser they were. It creates a jealousy for this younger child towards the older child, and a jealousy about it. There's a jealousy of a parent when a child is close to a parent. My dad and I were super close. My mother was so jealous of that relationship. She did everything she could to destroy it. Anything she could do to keep my dad and I apart, she would. And we were close. We were I worked I pumped gas at the gas station with him. I fixed flats with my dad. I went fishing with my dad. I did stuff with my dad. The jealousy my mother held was so deep. It was unbelievable. Anything she could do to prevent that. But that was a jealousy she had towards me because of my relationship with him. If he had not had it, she probably wouldn't have felt that much. But she did not want him to have any attention towards anyone else, even if it was her daughter. So we want to release jealousy for any of you who've experienced that, and feeling the humiliation of it when somebody has made you feel less than. So have we cleared this allergy and tolerance? We have cleared quite a bit of it. You may want to listen to Glenn. If you have other emotions that show up, for some of you who do not have the emotion code chart, sometimes you can just look. I'm just going to show you a small one. You can just look at the chart and see it, and you can go, oh, that's my emotion. I know that was it. You can touch it. And when we're going through this, you can actually clear it as I clear those and say that. So this one is now, yes. So the next time you're in this group or that individual comes up, that group or that individual or whatever it is that has created this whole allergy intolerance that you have, it could be an event, could be a person. It's more like a group or a allergy intolerance at this point. This is more towards the group and more towards families or relationships or friendships or girlfriends or schools. This was something there. When it comes up, try to observe the situation. Observe instead of trying to judge it before it happens, and not judging. Here's the predetermined outcome of how this is going to occur. When I speak to Jane Doe next time, here, I know what will happen. I know what she will say. And if the whole concept of that is not to make a predetermined outcome, but to allow a natural flow. If she wants to create that, she can, but you don't need to be a part of the creation of something that doesn't even exist yet. So try to do your best to stop and say, what I'd like to have happen is to have a positive exchange instead of a negative exchange of energy. So the next one we're going to do is that we're going to clear the aura around you. The aura is your bioelectronic field, electromagnetic field that goes out beyond your body. So ever how far you want to think of it, Dr. Nelson and Brad in Motion Code and Body Code, he says it goes 2 to 3 feet out. Sometimes I feel like it goes out further, and that's my personal opinion. You perceive how far yours goes out is your own choice. So I see it as that it's above us, it's below us, it's around us, and it's like a 360-degree thing all the way around us. And it is impacted by the energy of others. And what is holding this? Our auras are imbalanced, and many of us have imbalanced auras. And that happens more when we get near some of those certain groups that we just spoke of, the families or the topics or the people, that our aura gets imbalanced because something impacts it and it becomes very hard. So the first thing that was holding this in place was the heart chakra was out of balance. So underneath that imbalance of all of this is on the aura is the heart chakra, and the heart chakra is imbalanced, and it is having compassion and having others show you compassion. It is loving others and others showing you love unconditionally. It is being kind and experiencing kindness from others. And it is having a way to feel happy in every moment. And when I was clearing doing the energy coming down, it was literally when I got to the heart, probably because I've been working on this afternoon for you guys, that it literally hit the heart. And it was like, I honestly felt like a bomb hit it, and it was like knocking it around. It hurt so bad. So the heart chakra is imbalanced, and it's imbalanced for several reasons. And it's because we don't feel loved and that others love us unconditionally. And we aren't feeling that kindness. And we are not being able to feel that complete compassion that we would like to feel. So as we look at that, what's holding the heart chakra out of balance is part of it is shame. And shame is that either we have been wronged. How many of us have been wronged? Oh my gosh, every one of us have been wronged by someone. We have been wronged by them. They did something, they purposefully did it, or they knew they did it, or even if they unintentionally did it, it hurt us beyond all stuff. And our heart hurt. It was a painful experience about it, or we were blamed for something we did not do. Every one of us have had that happen. We're blamed on it, or we're accused, and we're hurt. So we're going to release shame. The next one is helplessness. And the helplessness in our heart is that we are stuck in that shame that we just talked about. We're stuck. We don't know what to do about it. We can't help ourselves. We can't change the circumstances. And whatever it was that made them feel like that they wronged us, or that we got blamed for something we didn't do, that we feel helpless in it. So we're releasing the helplessness in it and the stuckness of that helplessness. The next one is hopelessness. And the hopelessness is when we don't have any way at all of expecting this to change. And it's like there's a hopeless feeling. It's like the phone call still comes and we still get yelled at, and no matter what we do. And that's where we have to stop and look at our boundaries. But for right now, we're going to release hopelessness so we can establish boundaries. We want to release the hopelessness that things can't be different, because they can be. We have to find our mental ability and our emotional ability and our physical and spiritual ability to put it together so we can create a boundary that does work. So we want to release hopelessness so we can move to that. The next one is we feel like we have no control over it. We have no control over what's happening to us. We have no control over what's happening around us. We have no control over the future, today. We have no control over any of that. There's like a complete lack of an ability to control it, and getting that back So sometimes when that happens, we're going to release it, the lack of control. And when we finish this part, I'm going to do the energy bodies to bring that control back into your body. The effort unreceived is next. Oh, I can told you this allergy intolerance is, I'm itching. Oh my gosh, I'm itching so bad. The effort is effort unreceived. No one acknowledges or recognizes what you've contributed. You've done all this work. You've done all this stuff. Nobody gets it. Nobody says you're valuable. Nobody says thank you. Nobody looks at you with kindness. You don't get any compassion, and you certainly don't feel loved. And that's where effort is unreceived. That has been happens to children constantly when they've done the best they can, and maybe they didn't know how to do anymore. It happens with parents when they've done the same thing. It happens with each of us around others. It happens when healers give their energy away for free, and then they feel like their effort was unreceived when somebody doesn't even want to do anything back. There's not even a referral. It's really crazy. It's a feeling of effort unreceived. You begin to feel like you're so helpless and hopeless. So all those things all just compound. They become this great big emotion that makes you feel like your heart just hurts beyond all hurt. So we released effort unreceived, and next is heartache, which is exactly what I was just feeling as I said that. It's the extreme difficulty and sadness of that relationship. I just can't even describe when that effort's unreceived and we have felt hopeless and helpless and all the rest. Our heart feels like it is broken. Literally, when doing this work, I can't tell you how many times I've gone in and had to say there's a broken heart, and you can measure a broken heart. You can measure how broken it is and how damaged that is, and then see if you can bring that back together to bring it back to one. But heartache is when it is so difficult and the sadness is so extreme. So we want to release heartache. And if you have water, you should drink a drink. The next one's betrayed. There are two options here. One is when others have betrayed us, and the other one is when we have betrayed others. So did we break their trust and we wish we hadn't? Can we even say we're sorry? And if we can't, can you at least write a letter? And even if you don't mail it, write it. Just write it. I am sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. I genuinely wish this hadn't have happened. If I had known then what I know now, I would have changed it if that's the case. But whatever, and sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes you wouldn't have done it any differently. But that betrayed it's due to the circumstances or neglect or whatever it may have been. But then there's times when that's been turned on us and we've had our hearts broken. Somebody's given us their word and they didn't keep it. Someone that we loved, that we thought we could trust, neglected us. Children, you see, so neglected. The people who are teachers in this group call, they know how that feels to feel the neglectedness of a child, and they just want to help and hold them. They're so difficult to explain how it feels to be a teacher and feel the neglect of a child in a classroom. And you can't. You can do certain things to help, but you can't do everything. And it's very interesting because that child's trust was broken and they put a wall up. They put a wall up so big and so strong that nothing's ever going to get very close again until they can release it. So, but self-betrayal can be of ourselves as well. Have we betrayed ourselves? Have we been authentic to who we were? Did we ever do something that wasn't authentic to who we were? Did we ever go someplace and do something that wasn't authentic or get pulled into something that wasn't authentic? Or did we look the part that wasn't authentic, or did we act the part that wasn't authentic? I said I spent 20 years participating in something that I wasn't authentic at. I couldn't even speak of my spirituality. I had that family members were religious, and I had spiritual beliefs, but I never spoke of them. I betrayed me for so long in that relationship. It's still to this day. It's like they didn't respect me, but I didn't even stand up and say, here's who I am. My spirituality and what I believed in the source of all that is, the creator, the source of everything, is just as strong as their God with their Bible, which I had no problem with, but they couldn't respect mine. So I didn't speak. And I didn't stand in my integrity. It took me a long time to forgive myself for that, because I felt like I let my nieces and nephews down by not standing in it and doing it. So let's release being betrayed to ourselves, being betrayed by others, and if we have betrayed others. Heart chakra, is it back to balance? So some of you, your heart chakra is back to balance just by identifying that you can feel it. And your heart's probably hurting, some of you. If it's hurting, I'd like you to hit your bone that's between your breasts and hit it. Just hit it pretty hard. And that's going to help it feel better. Also, if you hit right below where this little indentation is, right here, you're going to do it. But you're going to hit here. And it's going to help to get that. And take some big breaths, and you breathe in on 7, count to 7. Hold, and then blow out on 11. So as you look at that, give yourself some compassion for all of those places where you felt the helplessness and the hopelessness, and let the heart chakra come back to being as balanced as possible. For some of you, it's going to be an issue of that you have a heart wall that's up that really needs to be released. Reach out if you have questions about that. Just ask on there in private, and I'll share more. So our toxic, so we're back. We covered everything that's cleared this toxic relationship. So we've cleared the auras and everything in the heart chakra that's got that out. We've cleared a whole bunch of stuff under allergy intolerances. And so now we have cleared a lot of things that are going to help you bring in those toxic relationships into back. They're going to release them. So toxic relationships are released. For you to be able to stop and look at every toxic relationship with a new set of eyes. The guides would like you to look at them at each relationship. You can take a piece of paper if you want to, and take a sticky note and put that sticky note on something and write down the names of the toxic relationships on there. And then what can you do to show compassion, to show kindness, to show non-judgmentalness, and just turn around and look at them the way you would like to be treated. That doesn't mean you have to break boundaries. That does not mean you need to let them treat you bad. But it may mean setting boundaries and saying things like, excuse me, I'm going to leave the room now if you speak to me that way. It may be, I did with my spouse when I was not having good boundaries, I did the zip up. I would stand here, the Barbara Eden zip up. I would stand and I would sit like this. I'd put my hands like this. I was stretching, and I'd stretch and go all the way around, and I'd come down to my crouch and come back up. And then I'd stretch and I'd come back down, and I'd stretch and I'd come back down. Then I'd go like this, and then I'd stretch like that, and I'd go that way. It took about 2 weeks for my husband to start saying, "You're about to leave the room, aren't you?" And I'd say, "Yes, I am." And he said, "I'll turn the television channel to a channel that's not so violent." Or he'd say, "Okay, I won't say that. I won't do that anymore." It took him about 2 weeks to start recognizing that I had set a boundary. I didn't ever verbally say a word. My boundary was set, and my thing was a stretch. And I went to the bathroom and I shut the door. I didn't come out for a long time. And when I left the bathroom and went to a room and got a book and read it, did not come back into the room where he was. Sometimes it is creating that. Sometimes if somebody asks you a question, that doesn't mean you need to answer them. Just because they want to know doesn't mean it's any of their business. And that's a big one. That's a really big one to get. Just because they asked does not mean you need to answer. And the best thing you can do is just to change the subject as though they didn't say it, especially if it's none of their business. And if they ask you something that you feel is out of alignment or out of vibration or is going to create an issue, and they're asking out of what I'm going to call nosiness, then just say, the weather is something else today, isn't it? Even if the weather is like beautiful, well, that's something else. It was my term I used with a sister. Boy, the weather's something else, when she would ask me how much money I made in my job, or she would ask me about something. And I tried for a while to turn it and say, well, tell me about your job. Well, exactly what did you do? And she would, it really offended her that I would ask the same question she asked me. But when I finally started saying, making her recognize I wasn't even going to turn it on her anymore, I just started saying, wow, the weather's just something else today. And it was always that the weather is something else. And she figured out it's none of your business. You don't get to ask me that. You can ask me all you want. I'm not going to answer it. I'm not going to deal with it. And I'm not going to address it. So as you go through there, that's what they'd like you to look at from that angle. So now we want to stop and sit here and see what else is keeping you in this destructive pattern. Rejection is. You have felt rejected. We're going to release it. 3. Yes. Love unreceived has kept you there. You haven't felt loved. 2, 3. Those are really deep things. There was a physical, emotional trauma, and this was an intense trauma, and it's been around the pandemic, and everybody's has been different. So yours could have been like, yours could have been from not getting to experience time with family. Yours could have been somebody was sick in the hospital and you couldn't go see them. Yours could have been a wedding that didn't occur. Yours could have been functions that you wanted to have or go to or do. Yours could have been just going out for social events to go out to eat. My husband said the other day, which I'm not a big movie goer for several reasons, but he loves to go to the movies. And he said, I haven't been to the movies in so long. He says, it's just not the same watching at home. And it was very interesting because we hadn't been in a while anyway, but it was a big thing on him. It was literally a trauma. It was a show he wanted to watch on it. So as you do it, the things that are keeping that in place, we're going to release them pretty quickly here, is the one that came up a shared emotion. These were shared emotions. So there was someone in your group that had the same experience. So if it was in a family, it was a family group. If it was a social group, it was the social group. If you were like into snow skiing and you couldn't go snow skiing because of the social thing. If it was a vacation retreat where no one could go, or it was a destination wedding, whatever it may be, there was a shared trapped emotion, which is the same experience, the same frequency, the same stimulus or event. And the first one that came up with frustration. Everybody had the same thing of frustration. Frustration got to everybody in that event and that experience and in that thing, whatever it may have been. The next one was indecisiveness. Indecisiveness is on what to do. What do I do and how do I do it? Do I try to go? Do I not try to go? Do I plan for it? Do I quit planning for it? When do I plan again? When do I plan for this again? Let's say that you had to postpone a big family function, a christening, for example. And all of a sudden it's, when do I plan for this christening? How long do I postpone this christening? What if something happens to Granny before I get to have this christening? The whole thing. So we're indecisiveness, we're going to release. The conflict is next. And conflict was internal conflict, which was those things about indecisiveness. It was like, what if this, what if that, what if I don't do this? And the external conflict were the things from the governments. They were the things from the different control groups that were over us that said, all of these places will close because they're not valid. Oh, these places are allowed to be open. I found it so amazing that liquor stores could be open, and places like, let's say, groomers had to be closed. You know, groomers are a health issue for pets, but apparently whoever made the rule didn't know about pets and grooming on like a poodle or a dog of certain sorts. I found it so interesting in the United States that alcohol places, if you sold alcohol by the bottle, you could be open all you want. No problems. But groomers had to be closed. Massage places had to be closed. Things that were healthy had to be closed, but things that possibly may not be considered quite as healthy could be open. It was a difference of priorities of the government. There was a big conflict. So we want to release the conflict. Could you hear my conflict there? That was a big one for me. And I quit itching after I released that allergy thing earlier. The next one was confusion. And the confusion is on, I'm disoriented on how to proceed. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. I had retreats planned this past year to go to. I had planned to do a retreat for people that I have worked with. And all of that is like, there's disorientation and confusion on what do I do? What do I do? When do I do it? When do I try it? And I feel like so brave of some of my friends who've already started planning retreats for next fall. I think it's brave of them, but they don't have any confusion about it. Me, I had confusion, still have confusion. So I'm going to release that tonight. So maybe I can get there. 3. And I really found that either time stood still for us on the confusion or time flew by, one of the two. So have we released the physical, emotional trauma? Now, I think you got it. So the physical, emotional trauma had a shared, most of it was shared trapped emotions that were all with your groups and each of your individual groups, whatever they may be. So if your sister had a baby, but no one could go to the hospital with her because she had to go by herself and you couldn't even go up to see the baby till it's done back, those were shared trapped emotions of a family unit. If the christening is supposed to occur and no one can christen the baby, if there was a funeral for someone, if someone had a wedding or wanted to have a wedding, but didn't know whether to postpone it because they wanted everybody to be there and they didn't want it on Zoom. Those were the kind of things that we released on that. The next one that is on here it's called a pernicious influence. And this one wasn't for everybody, but this one's hitting everybody right now. And this is the time of year it is. It is, for some of us, it's the cold. For some of us, it's the wind. For some of us, the dampness. For some of us, it is different components of our environment that are physically challenging to our bodies. Too much heat, too much cold, too much wind, too much dampness, too much dryness. What is it that is causing us to have a problem? So I'm going to give an example for me that I am in Texas the majority of the time. My spouse is in Oklahoma, and I've been up to Oklahoma to visit many, many weekends. And I literally have complained on every drive home when I've called my friends how cold I have been. The cold and the wind have literally froze me. The pernicious influences are a huge influence on me. Cold and wind really bother me energetically. Oh, I just burped it out probably. But you probably have something that is in the temperatures, in the dampness, in the heat, in the cold, that literally, quite literally, it influences your energetic feelings about how you feel and what you're experiencing. And so we want, if we can, to release any of those so that you can move forward if you can't change them. My plan is to change some of mine. The next one is what's holding that in place is some indecisiveness. And that's on when you live somewhere where you live in that environment and you do not move it. My spouse is like having the biggest issue with the fact that he's still up in Oklahoma and I'm down here where it's warmer and nicer and less wind. And there is, because he's indecisive and I was not. I knew what I wanted. I knew I was willing to do it. So we're going to release indecisiveness for those of you who are indecisive so you can move forward. The next one is overwhelm, and it's like the last straw. I am overwhelmed by it and I'm frozen in place. And I'm not meaning like frozen cold in place, but you're like mentally frozen. You mentally can't even make a move. You're so overwhelmed by this heat, or you're overwhelmed by the cold, or you're overwhelmed by the wind, or you're overwhelmed by the dampness, or you're overwhelmed by the fires last year, like in Australia or in California. The overwhelm made you freeze. You just couldn't move and you couldn't function and you couldn't make decisions. So it left you in indecisiveness. We're releasing that. And the pernicious influences are there. I would like you to think about when something is coming up, how much the physical environment that you're in is influencing you and influencing your energy around you, because it can be. So what's keeping you in the same destructive patterns that are stopping you from living a life, showcasing your higher self, your soul's wisdom, and what is stopping you and you're from having authentic responses. The next one is a memory field, and it's the comparison of last year to this year, and nothing else has to be said. A year ago, the world looked very different. The world was experienced differently. The world felt differently. The world heard differently. The world perceived the future differently. So this year, our memory field of the last year and the comparison to this year is that we need to release that comparison. We can appreciate many of the things we had, but we need to stop and recognize that the comparison is keeping us in a state of negativity. It's keeping us in a place that's not good. So we want to release the memory field of comparison. Now, we're going to activate and inspired in a minute. The next one is we're going to release mixed messages. And the mixed messages are coming from the government, who can't make up their mind what they're going to do. It's coming from the media, who tells you, oh, it's terrible to go do this. Oh, you should go do that. Why can't they do this? And then they question it. They turn everything in what I'm going to call a spin. And you get so sick of hearing it, you really don't know what to believe. The next one is your family. That all of the controversies between the family. Should we do this or should we not do this? How should we do it and how should we not do it? Getting on the same page is pretty tough. Work. Oh my gosh. How many times? It's like, do I go to work? Do I not go to work? My husband got, someone came into the office and had said about 15 minutes later, came and sit down in the cafeteria room where he sat to eat his lunch. And he was sitting there. They'd been there about 10 minutes and they looked up and said, about 15 minutes ago, my husband just got diagnosed with COVID. And here she is sitting in the room with all the people she took her mask off to eat. And she was just telling everyone that her husband was diagnosed with COVID, which means she should have been home because she should have been in isolation, but she didn't do it. And then she totally turned around and exposed everyone in that room. The mixed messages at work are, do you send everybody home or do you not? How did you do it? Oh, it was such an interesting experience to observe it. It wasn't fun for my spouse, but it was a really interesting experience because the mixed messages from everybody were very strong. So you're recognizing those. So let's clear all mixed messages. And the one thing that's doing that it's hindering is that it's hindering our creative insecurities. Our creative security is that we can all of a sudden be inspired and know, but this mixed messages is making us where we feel like we can't like make a decision and give it a try. We can't do this or try that. So we're going to let go of creative insecurities. So we want to release giving your energy to what you hear and start being open to inspired. So this is all they're letting us release on what are the destructive patterns that are stopping your life from showcasing your highest self, your soul's wisdom, and what is stopping you from your authentic responses versus emotional reactions. And there's probably many more that we could do, but we're not going to be able to get them all done tonight. We've already gone an hour on them, and they haven't even gone to our activations yet. So as we go through, I'm just going to douse out, which I found my very first pendulum that I ever had tonight. And here we go. I'm going to douse out anything that's left. And then my intention is for anyone who needs it released badly, for it to be removed, released, neutralized. And that energy is gone. The energy is neutralized, returned back to the creator, the source of all that is, transmuted into positive. If it needs to be broken down into small particles and then transmuted, that's great. Do it. So we're going to neutralize anything else that anybody needs on this topic of repeating patterns so that they are able to respond effectively, authentically, and not react with knee jerks. They're able to live their soul's wisdom. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to activate. I'm going to go ahead and do a little quick on the energy bodies. And all I'm going to ask is to come forth. And I'm going to serve as a proxy for everyone in this group. And I'm just going to go down to number 4. I'm asking to search all in all aspects and over any of the energies of yours that has been given away. Bring it back, please. Sent away. Bring it back, please. Lost. Bring it back, please. Stolen. Bring that back, please. Misused. 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 Oh, come on. Bring back the misused energy. Please bring back the misused energy. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anything that's held in captivity. Thank you. Anything enslaved. Yes. Anything that's been abducted. Yes, thank you. Anything that has been hypnotized. Yes. Okay. And anything that's been coded, which are negative codes. Yes. We ask to bring all that back to you. We release all the negative codes, bring back all the other energy into your energy systems, transmute it into beneficial energy for your soul to be at its highest and best. They just asked me to talk about hypnotized for a moment. Hypnotized is when someone is trying to market or do something with you that you don't feel good about. When you feel that, stop and ask yourself. For those of you who know how to muscle test, try to stand up and ask, is this in my highest and best? Do I need to be doing it? Is this something that's trying to code me, or something that's trying to get me to do something I don't really want to do, or something that's not my highest and best? And literally, there's been some websites I've had to turn off that I used to watch, or Facebook pages I used to see that I no longer observe. I don't watch them or listen to them because it's almost as though there were coded messages in them that were like trying to get me to either be less than I was, or they were trying to me to be like them, and they didn't really want to be like them. And not necessarily that they were bad. I didn't think that. I just have a need to be uniquely me, because I'm a believer that you are uniquely you, that each of us bring to the table the uniqueness of who we are, and that what we have is very special and it's necessary for our world. So that was what our energy bodies, we asked for all of that. Thank you. That was just a quick one on that. We're going to rejuvenate. So I like to ask to download I'm going to just go through an activation, let it activate while I'm doing it. Download the feeling safe to be authentically who you are. We just want to download the feeling from God, the creator, the source of all that is, for you to be authentically who you are and feel safe in doing that. Once you know what it feels like to be safe to doing that, when you start experiencing it, then you can embrace it and be empowered by it. Download what it feels like to be safe in experiencing change. Sometimes right now we are at a point where we've had so much change, we can't handle any more change. But we just have to be able to be safe to experience it and to see it in a different way. We want to be able to safe to see it in a different way. It's safe to recognize it for what it is and utilize it. Thank you. We want to be able to say download the ability to be safe to set boundaries. Safe to set boundaries. Safe to say, I don't have to take that phone call from that person who upsets me. I do not have to answer a text message. I don't have to reply to a question just because they ask. So we want to make it safe for you to set boundaries, and then start figuring out and understanding when your guides and your soul's wisdom's telling you to do it and how to do it. Sometimes it's through silence. Sometimes it's through non-participation physically, not just verbally, but physically. Sometimes it's through physically saying something or doing something. But we want to have you be safe to set boundaries and then have the inspiration to start setting them. That way you can authentically become who you are, and you are going to stop repeating some of those patterns. You want to activate your inspiration to see and know your next steps. Activate the inspiration to see and know your next steps after you've done those others. And activate the ability to be honest with yourself. Wow, that hit me hard. When I started itching today, when I hit the allergy intolerance and I hit that first one on judging, and I remembered I had been very judgmental towards someone's family member early in their day. I was like, can you believe he did that? And that was me being judgmental, not them. They didn't do that. It was me. And I had to be honest with myself. When I started itching, I said, oh, this one hits really close to home. This one hits. This is hits. And it did. So I want to activate to be honest with myself, and activate for you to be honest with yourselves and give compassion to yourselves. Sometimes we do not know better. Sometimes we don't realize we did it. Once we learn, then that's a lesson. We don't have to repeat the lesson. The next one is activate to wake up and look at yourself with grace, compassion, and honesty. Can I allow and show compassion even when others do not? Can I show compassion even when they don't give it back to me? Can I do that? And I can. Activate, be willing to understand the beliefs of others, open to listening without judging, without ill will. We don't have to agree with them. We can disagree with them, but we do not have to say that we have to do something to make it difficult for them or to judge that they have terrible things. Sometimes we have to allow. I say this every week, and I love it, to activate you to become your own wizard who knows what to do in your life. Become your own magical unicorn. Become the best of who you are as your soul. Become your own mystic of your own life. Get yourself your own little fairy wand. Get yourself a Tinkerbell wand. Get yourself a thing that's got fairy dust in it so you can sprinkle it on yourself when you need that mystic to show up and say, oh, I am a mystic. I can do that. Be inspired to be present today in this moment, in this experience, with the knowing that today's vibration brings forth the manifestations for tomorrow. When we live in the vibe of who we want to be, that's when we will become that. We also want to do the art of discernment. Do we know what's best? We want to rejuvenate our DNA back to our soul's original programming so we can use that. And we want to activate free will choice and discernment. Free will choice. That's my free will choice. I'm not getting pushed into it. I'm not getting pulled by the media. I'm not getting society to do it. Jeana's not pushing me to do it. My spouse is not. I have free will choice, and I'm activating that. I want to activate observing with understanding, compassion, so you stop repeating the destructive patterns. You stop repeating them and start demonstrating and living an authentic response with authentic boundaries that work for you, and activate completion over perfectionism because you start moving towards it. So those of you who know me, you can really, if you decide to do something, just remind me to say, activate completion over perfectionism. Activate attempts over perfectionism. Show up. Okay, thank you. That's my guide sort of laughing like, yeah, that was for you, Jeana. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things you can do to help you start getting some of these activations to work. I'm going to put this in the email tomorrow, but we're going to have you to assist these activations. I'd like you to go look in the mirror and smile at yourself. Go look in the mirror and smile at yourself, or turn the Zoom on and talk to yourself on the Zoom. And you can record it, because you can record for one person and save it to your computer and talk to yourself on the Zoom and tell you how wonderful you are. Spend 5 minutes telling you how wonderful you are. 5 minutes. This is how wonderful you are, and I need to do these things to do it. Then look at yourself and smile at others online. Can you smile at others online? Can you smile at others who you meet? Even when you have the masks on, you can smile. Your eyes smile. The eyes smile. The eyebrows smile. Do that. When you feel like you need it, drink some water or some tea and hydrate. Hydration is a big deal on energy. If you're getting low and you don't feel so hot, drink some water, drink some tea, drink not alcohol, but drink something that has got some good fluids to it, like the tea. You can drink coffee, but you can drink some fluids and it's going to increase your vibe. You will feel better. There's a thing called I statements, and I statements are I feel and I believe and I know and I love, and say them out loud to yourself. Try to make a list of 500 I statements about yourself. I like the way your hair looks, Jeana. Jeana, I thought you wore great lipstick on Tuesday night. Jeana, you really did a nice job with your earrings. They sort of match your top, although y'all probably can't tell that. I worked really hard. Jeana, oh, look, this was a really cool thing. You found a bracelet that matched your pants and your earrings and your sweater. Jeana, I love the way you did your session tonight. I love the way you wrote up your notes tonight. Jeana, can you write 500 things you like about yourself? That is a challenge that you ought to try. It's pretty tough to do. Ask yourself what you need right now and see if you can give yourself a little bit of it. If you need someone to talk to, then see if you can reach out and connect. If you need to do some work, mean, maybe you need to do a Jeana thing and you need to completion versus perfectionism. That's what you need to do. Another thing to do right now is to organize something. I organized my sock drawer. I've told y'all that in the past. I organized my sock drawer, and they're all by color codes and by the fiber of the socks. So wool socks are in one spot, and the length of the socks also are in there, and they did it. Then I organized all my blouses in the closet. So they're organized by color and by sleeve length. All my pants are organized by color, and they're all organized by the length that they are and the style. Organize something. You'll feel better. Figure out a way to relax all of your muscles. All of your muscles, not just a part of them, but all of them. I use this product called Workout Wonder. It's MIO Workout Wonder. It's awesome. It has magnesium in it, and it has some other things. You put it on muscles that hurt, and it's got a tingly little feel, and it feels cool at once because there's a peppermint in it. And then all at once, your muscles feel like heaven. Try something that you can find that'll give you some way to do that. Try cooking a meal that you just love, or make a meal plan for the whole week that has all of the ingredients and all of the things in it you need to eat healthy for your own personal diet needs. Not where you're like eating out of stress or out of tension or out of anxiety, but you're eating out of planned, this is the way my body feels best. Text, call, or send a note, mail a note to somebody you're really thankful for. You know, I have a bunch of notes from students, and I love them. I love my notes from students that would tell me when they graduated from college, or when they completed something, or when they started earning a grade point average that meant a lot to them. Something that they had learned in my class that made a difference in their life. It could just be in their daily life. I had a child, and I'm much better parent now, or something that they provided that they did. Send a note to somebody who did something meaningful for you. Send a note to someone, whether it's an email or a handwritten note or a phone call or a text. Send something nice to somebody. Send something nice. It's amazing what it can do for the soul of our earth if kindness were always there, and that every one of us demonstrated that back. And the one thing I will say is, can you look in the mirror? Can you say your name and say, I like you. I love you. And can you do that twice every day? Jeana Locke, I like you. Jeana Locke, I love you. Jeana Locke, I appreciate you. And look in the mirror at yourself and do it twice a day. If you need to put a sticky note on there, then write a big sticky note out. Put your sticky note on the mirror and say, remember, I love you. I like you. I appreciate you. Let's start giving our kindness to ourselves. So keeps things fresh when you do that. Do something that you really like. So thank you so much for joining us tonight on this section. And I appreciate all of you for being here. I will talk to you soon. Oh, there's going to be a special bonus session that's going to be, you can gift to somebody if you want. I was guided the other day when I was working with one of my clients, and apparently it came out, and they asked them to send me a note because, I don't remember them. But I'm supposed to do on the 18th of this month, I'm doing a confidence for building your confidence, enhancing your confidence. And it's going to be in the middle of the day. So replays for some people might be okay. But it's on the 18th, which is a Thursday. So it's next Thursday. It's going to be in the middle of the day. So there's going to be 2 gifted sessions next month. And it's for everyone who is feeling they need to have some confidence to be able to feel those inspirations and go forth. So share that info. We will share that and get that going. It'll come out in the message tomorrow.